There are places on this earth that maps have forgotten. Blank spaces where the known world ends, and where the old world, the true world, still breathes. In Anatolia, the land of ancient whispers, there is one story told only in the low light of hearths, a warning disguised as a legend, the story of the city turned to stone, and its eternal guardians, the Taş Yeğin. 3 souls were drawn into the silence of that legend. A guide, clinging to the stories of his grandfather. A historian, armed with reason and skepticism. And a cameraman, seeking only the glory of the unseen. They journeyed deep into the heart of the forgotten lands, where the modern world began to fray. The first sign was the silence. An absolute, suffocating absence of sound. No birds, no insects, just the heavy, dusty air. Then, the technology died. The GPS screen flickered and went black, not with a message, but as if it had simply forgotten its purpose. The compass needle spun in a lazy, dizzy circle. And then, the fog came. It did not roll in, it manifested. A thick, white, sound-absorbing shroud that fell upon them in an instant, swallowing the road, the sky, the world itself. The car, their only tether to reality, choked and died, its engine falling silent as if it had never been alive. In that sudden, blinding whiteness, the first true seed of fear took root. They were not just lost. They were unwelcome. Driven by a mix of terror and desperate curiosity, they walked. And the fog lifted as suddenly as it had arrived, revealing the Yemen Valley. And there it was. The legend was real. But it was not a city of statues. It was a city of moments. A nightmare frozen in time. Men, women, children, animals all captured in a single, horrifying instant of panic. Their faces were contorted in silent screams, their bodies twisted in flight. The stone was not carved, it was grown. It preserved every detail, every thread of clothing, every strand of hair, every look of utter, final terror. The historian's skepticism didn't just vanish, it was annihilated. The air was thick with the smell of ozone and crushed flint, the scent of ancient lightning. It was a gallery of atrocity. A snapshot of the end. It was the sound that broke the silence. A deep, grinding vibration that came up through the soles of their boots, a sound that felt like the very bones of the earth groaning in protest. From behind the monolithic peaks of the valley, they came. Shapes moved within the swirling mist. Not walking, but shifting. Towers of earth and jagged rock, pieced together into a crude, horrifying parody of the human form. They were the mountains themselves, given wrathful life. And then, the eyes. In the gloom of the mist, pairs of burning red coals ignited. 2 for each titan. A hateful, intelligent light that focused on the 3 intruders. The guide's face went ashen. He remembered the full horror of the tale now. It was not a story of a curse that happened long ago. It was a warning of a guardian that still walked. The gaze of the Taş Yeğin did not just turn you to stone. It sealed your final, terrified moment for all eternity. Panic. Pure, undiluted animal panic. The car was a dead husk. And the eyes were upon them. Their only refuge was a dark, yawning mouth of a cave at the valley's edge. They ran, not thinking, only feeling the primal need to escape that terrible, petrifying gaze. The ground shook with the weight of the giants behind them. They scrambled into the cold, damp darkness of the cave, collapsing onto the gritty floor. The cameraman killed his light, plunging them into an absolute blackness so complete it felt solid. They huddled together, listening. The sounds outside were deafening. The crunch of bedrock under impossible weight. The screech of stone dragging against stone. The deep, guttural rumble that was not a voice, but pure, elemental fury. They could feel each footstep resonate through the rock they leaned against. They waited for the cave entrance to be torn open by a fist of mountain. But the blow never came. Instead, another sound joined the cacophony. A methodical, thunderous crash, crash, crash. It was the sound of immense boulders being lifted and stacked, one by one. The sound of masonry. The sound of a tomb being sealed. For hours, the symphony of their entombment played. And then, as suddenly as it began, it stopped. The silence that followed was more terrifying than the noise. Slowly, cautiously, as the first gray light of dawn filtered into the cave, they dared to hope. They crept toward the entrance. Their hope turned to ash in their mouths. The entrance was gone. Sealed shut by a perfect, impenetrable wall of immense, interlocking stones. It was not a rock slide. It was craftsmanship. It was a prison. They were not killed. They were stored. A cold, helpless despair seized them. They were buried alive. And in that crushing silence, a new sound began. Not from outside. From within. From the deep, black, unexplored heart of the cave they had fled into. A slow, grinding drag. The sound of stone moving against stone. It was a patient sound. A sound that had been waiting. It was not loud. But in the perfect silence of the tomb, it was clearer than a scream. And it was close. 3 pairs of eyes turned slowly, mechanically, toward the source of the sound. The cameraman's shaking hand fumbled for his light, his finger slipping on the switch. The beam erupted, cutting through the darkness, and traveled down the length of the cave. It did not find an empty chamber. At the very edge of the light, where the darkness became absolute, the beam found what it was looking for. It illuminated 2 points of furious, hellish red light. They were not alone in the cave. They had never been alone. The Taş Yeğin had not sealed them in. It had sealed itself in with them. The mountains are never alone. They just wait in silence.